Hello again, everybody, and welcome to episode 27, the Jeremy Roenick edition of Angles and Attitudes. He's John and I'm Mark, and today we are joined by a very special guest, Youngstown's favorite son and former WBA lightweight champion, Ray Boom Boom Mancini. Ray, welcome aboard. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
How's it going, Ray?
Going all right. Yourself?
All right, buddy.
Good to see you.
We're doing great. Thank you very much, Champ, for taking time out of your schedule. I know you're a busy man. Hey, we're going to start. I opened it up, Youngstown's favorite son. I know you can't, in a short period of time, tell us how important Youngstown is to you, but why don't you take a shot at it?
Well, no, Youngstown is everything, everything to me. I'm born and bred here, and who have a saying, I'm from the south side. I'm born and raised on the south side of Youngstown, Ohio. We have a saying, if you ain't from the south side, you're from the outside. But I love my home. I do. I was in California for 30 years, and people always say, well, where's home? I said, Youngstown, Ohio. I go, don't you live in Santa Monica? I go, yeah, it's not my home. It's my kid's home, not mine. So I was out there for 30 years, never considered it home, though. I knew it was a temporary place, or at least in my heart it was, So, and it's funny. So since I've been back since 2014, came back for business purposes. I came back to create a full digital media studio for film production, TV production, as well as all other, digital media. And Youngstown's, a perfect opportunity and a perfect place to do something like that. We're south of Cleveland, and now we're north of Pittsburgh. So, 450 miles east of Chicago, 450 miles west of New York. So, we're centrally located, and that's no joke. So, I always say I give you everything Cleveland and Pittsburgh can, but at a much better price. So,
you're dead center, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think we're in a process. I've been talking to, we're dealing with Netflix now on a series about Youngstown for Youngstown. And if everything goes right, we'll be starting to shoot that early spring. I'm in pre-production on a film project, start shooting in November and finish before Christmas. So we got a lot of things in the hopper here that we're just pursuing and pushing. And as you can see in the back with the crib, that's my wife's. She has a granddaughter and a grandson on the way. I have a granddaughter, so when they visit, that's their.
That's a nice Italian home. That's how it is in my house.
Yeah,
that's how it is. You got to be ready when they come over.
We got the blended family. I got three. She got three. I got 2 boys and a girl. She got 2 boys and a girl. So it's good. It's good. Now, just so you know, I was in Chicago on Monday.
Really?
I was there. I came back yesterday morning. I was there for the National Italian American Sports Hall of Fame golf event.
Yeah, with Ronnie Onesti.
Correct. Ron's my guy, and he does a wonderful job. And our great founder and leader, George Randazzo, passed away unexpectedly a couple of years ago. But we keep pushing forward. We keep moving forward in his memory, and it's great for not only for Italian American community to recognize the Italian American athletes, but Italo Americans, not only in sports but entertainment. Anybody makes an impact on society. So
right.
I'm very proud to be part of it. So yeah, I was just in Chicago. Chi-town is my town.
Sure, Ray.
We love it. Hey, you were talking about Italian American Sports Hall of Fame and entertainers and all that. We had Tony Ocean on yesterday, and Tony, we were talking about the fact that somehow nowadays it's no longer like cool to be proud of your heritage, right? Isn't that a shame? You talked about that, Youngstown, and the immigrant parents that raised you and gave you the values and set you up for the successful path you have in life, right?
Well, it's funny you say that because when our parents, like I said, when the immigrants came here. Now, first of all, you have to understand we were the second biggest steel producing city in the world. Mm-hmm. Pittsburgh was 1, we were 2. So from Cleveland to Pittsburgh, all down northeastern Ohio, western PA, the steel mills factories were booming. So for instance, the turn of the century, Youngstown, we were at the forefront of the industrialization of America. We were at the forefront, and we were making the weapons for World War I, World War II, and so on. So for the restoration of the bridges and all the structures that have gone up since. I mean, we were out there. And then in 1977, in one day, September 19th, 1977, known here as a Black Monday, over 10,000 men lost their job. In one day, over 10,000 men, over 1 week, 25,000 men, over 6 months, over 50,000 men lost their jobs in Youngstown because the steel mill went to Asia, and they couldn't make it better, just made it cheaper.
Mhm.
So it decimated my town. And to this day, I don't think we fully ever recovered. But since, maybe 2010 or so, the town's on decline. And I want to be part of the restoration. I want to be part of the new surge of economy here. And that's why I came back.
Ray, your energy is outstanding. I mean, after this great, lengthy boxing career, and if you don't mind, I just kind of want to tweak this a little bit.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Dad a little bit, Lenny Mancini,
Yeah.
and what he meant to you, and when did this passion start after a great career of your father's?
Well, thank you. Yeah, he my father was the number 1 contender in the world from 1942 to 1944. He signed to fight for the world title in February of 42. He got drafted in January 42. He said, look, I want to defend my country. I just want the opportunity to fight for the world title. And he said, I'll give all my money to the Army Relief Fund, which at that time was crying for money. And they said, no, we don't want your money. We want you. And consequently, he went in, and in the Battle of Metz, France, other than the Battle of the Bulge, probably the most destructive war in the European theater of operation. He was shot up and hit with a mortar shell, and was left for dead. He had shrapnel all throughout his body. And luckily, one of his comrades picked him up and carried him back. And he was in a hospital in France for about 8 weeks, and then went to England. And he was in a hospital in England for about 6 months, and eventually. And they said when he got out of it, when he came back for rehab after the war, came back to America, they said, well, they didn't think he'd walk again. They said, we don't think he'll be able to walk. Got through that. He said, certainly he'll never fight. And certainly, and he came back to fight. But you have to understand, he went into number 1 contender in the world as a lightweight, came out of middleweight. At that time, we're at only 8 weight classes. So it was, from 135 pounds to 160 pounds. And my father was only 5'2", not a big man, except that my father had a barrel chest like this. So he was able to put on the weight. But I tell people, the thing I'm most proud of, my father's career, the one thing I'm most proud of, not only was a great fighter, that if he had over 100 professional fights, and only 2 of the fighters of that era that were contenders or fought for the title, champions, Kid Gavilan and Billy Graham, who fought for the welterweight title, were never knocked out or stopped his whole career. My father was never knocked out or stopped his whole career. So when he came back to fight as a middleweight, he was fighting guys that were 160, 170 pounds, 75 pounds. He fought guys like light heavyweights, and nobody could knock him out. And I'm very proud of it because, he was an aggressive, come forward fighter. Eventually, everyone gets stopped or knocked out, but no. And I always heard about it. Could have been world champion if it wasn't for World War II. And so since I was a little boy, when people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? I'd say, I want to be a fighter and a world champion for my father. And people say, oh, isn't that cute? Little boy wants to be a fighter for his father. But that's all I ever wanted to be. I didn't know anything. I didn't want to be anything else. I had an academic as well as an athletic scholarship to go to college. I had a professional baseball offer. I had other opportunities, which is what he wanted me to pursue. And he said to me, Raymond, when he sat me down, I said, Raymond, it's a painful life, a lonely life. I had to fight. It was depression. I had to eat. You have so many opportunities. And I said, Dad, I want to win the title for you. So what's he going to say? So I was very fortunate to fulfill that dream. And, later on, after I won the title, a reporter once said to me, he said, now that you're champion, he said, really, did you ever really believe it? I said, yeah, man. Yeah. I used to have dreams about it since I was 8, 9, 10 years old. I used to have dreams carrying a belt over my head for my father. I said, now, see, sports psychologists have a fancy name called positive mental visualization, right? If you could dream it, you could be it. But I said, hell, man, I always thought it was called dreaming. Dreaming. I had a dream. And that's why, and then a lot of times they'd say to me, well, if you weren't a fighter, what would you have been? I said, I can't answer that. Can't answer it because there's nothing else I ever wanted to be. I like to think I'd have been successful in other things. As I said, I had academic scholarship to go to college as well, athletic scholarship. But I'd like to think I've been successful, but I can't answer because there's nothing else I ever wanted to be. And certainly after fighting led to other things, and that's why when I transitioned into my other life, it just happened gradually and naturally, but boxing opened up those doors.
Sure.
So.
And the great story about your dad. And I remember the poem that you recited in The Good Son and how powerful that was about being my father's son. And that was just, that was some really powerful stuff, right?
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah. I was able to put my words on the page, my thoughts to words on a page. I've always been able to do that pretty good. In fact, when I was in high school, my mom entered one of my poems into a contest, which would not be known. And I won, I actually won a second or third prize, whatever, but it got published in a book, poem, so I'm actually a published poet.
He's a poet and he knows it. There you go.
He's a poet, but he don't know it.
He does know it. That's exactly right. Good on you. Hey, you talked about, we could talk about the fights and all, but the parts that are interesting too, some of the movies and all, and some of the stories with your buddy Ed O'Neill that you don't even think about. You see Ed O'Neill and you're like, Youngstown. And then you go back, you're talking about coming back now. You see your ability to drive Youngstown economically and stuff, right? Like kind of a mini Detroit success story, right?
It's funny you said that, and I appreciate it because I used that as my template, the Detroit scene. I came back to create an industry. People said, what'd you come back for? I said, to create an industry. And I said, it's just not going to be the steel industry or the car industry. It's going to be an entertainment industry. So when I meet with politicians local, and I met with them, and they said, what is your goal? What is your dream? I said, to create a studio, a full, and it used to be called movie studio, right? Mm-hmm. Now you guys know better than me. Full digital media studio, because that's what it is, right? That's what it is. Right. And so you're using it for everything else too. So I came back and I said, when I come back, and one of the things when I meet with investors and when I met with the city, get the city to see if there's any economic plans that they can offer. One thing I said is when they said, well, again, what are you looking to do? I said, I came back to create a factory. As I just said, to create a factory. Came back to create a factory. I said, again, it's just not a car factory or a steel factory. It's an entertainment factory. I said, along with that comes brick and mortar. Now everyone understands brick and mortar, and that's what more people are interested in, brick and mortar. Because if you talk to them about movie ideas or TV series ideas, it ain't rocket science to me. It's just, I like to think of myself as an educated pugilist, but it ain't rocket science. You talk to some smart people, right? Politicians, city councilmen. They look at you like you're speaking a foreign language. Mm-hmm. You get that Pavlov's dog. The head's turned. I'm talking about creating an economy here.
Right.
Boom. It's real simple. If there's an economic help for me to bring entertainment here,
right?
We do it. Boom. We put an influx of money into local economy like now, real quick. And usually the rule of thumb is whatever the budget on the film, it's half to 2/3 of the money of the budget goes back into the local economy through, local hire, entertainment, food, and all that. And you explain this, and like I said, I thought, they had some smart people here, but man, I get it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. Like if I don't understand your business, okay, but they think like this is only stuff done in Hollywood. They know that Pittsburgh's doing it. Cleveland now is a major spot, and everywhere else around the country. Matter of fact, Ohio was one of there's only 3 states that didn't have a incentive package, right? With the rebate or tax credit rebate. We were one of the last 3. Finally, we got it, but I tell you, now one of our state packages is pretty damn good. It's one of the best. So, but what I'm getting to is it's just, I've been I've been beating this drum. I meet with city council, and I'm going to do it. And it's like I'm not going to do it. I am, but you like to think you'd get some help. But it seems like, roadblocks, man. They take you in. They seem like they want to help you. And I'm not talking about anybody specifically, because I know that they're trying to help. They just don't get it, man. They don't. Like I said, I didn't think it's that difficult to understand. I really did.
Ray and Mark, I want to just say, and I want to go back to what you're talking about, because now we're talking about you now. Was your dad there for that first one against Bowen at Strutter's Fieldhouse?
Oh, yeah,
you remember that fight?
My father,
October 18th?
My father was different. Every one of my fights.
Every one of them.
No,
you remember the first one, Ray, against Bowen?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. My parents were ringside for every fight. The only fight my father missed, true story, only one he missed was April 2nd, 1981. Where did I fight it? The Conrad Hilton Hotel in Chicago.
You fought Al Ford.
Al Ford. The reason why the reason they couldn't let him off work because they had just gone back. They were, General Fireproof, his place where he worked, was a fabricating plant. He worked it for almost 40 years, but several times he was laid off. They slowed down, and so they were laid off for a long time. And then they just went back to work, and they wouldn't give him time off to come see me fight. My mother was
Chicago,
there.
Yes,
that's the only one he missed being at ringside. It was the fight in Chicago. Yeah.
Well, there's so many things I want to ask you, because I love the story about trying to rebuild Youngstown, and I don't want to get caught up in that. But you look at Detroit, right? They brought the ballparks down there, Fox Theater. They put a new, the Red Wings. That's what I love the most about the Ilitch family. They stayed in there and said, you know what? We're going to build this back. And I would love for, still standing from 2010 to look at us now in 2022 or 2023.
Well, I appreciate that, because that's exactly what I've been telling people. And a lot of people have said, we've seen that movie, Youngstown Still Standing. We've watched it. And I'm saying that's exactly what I want to use that as the prototype. Because, what you said about Detroit, well, even Cleveland now. Cleveland is one of the best places to film. I'm talking about, I'm only looking to do independent film here. Because, look, I'm not going to do those. We're never going to get the $50 to 150, $200 million studio films. No. But that 1 to 15 million independent film, we're ideal for. Ideal. But look, they're doing all the Avenger movies, those big $250 million budgets in Cleveland, right? Pittsburgh gets that. So, again, I'm not looking to do that stuff, but that 1 to 15 independent film, we're ideal. And but somebody has to lead the way, show them. I've done 4 projects since 2000. I've done 4 projects. I shot a feature film here in 2000 that I produced for Warner Brothers wound up buying. I've done a couple documentaries that have gone theatrical release. And so now I'm in pre-production on a film project, hopefully start shooting in November so we can finish before Christmas. And we're in negotiations now with Netflix about a series, Youngstown for Youngstown. The story that it's a crime drama about Youngstown. No kidding, right? And
we've heard a thing or two. Start
shooting in the spring.
Well,
I'm trying, man. I'm trying. One thing about Youngstown. Let me go back. What you said something about what they did in Detroit. Since I shot a movie down in Youngstown in 2000. And I mean this literally, not figuratively, literally. You could shoot a cannonball after 5 o'clock, you weren't hitting nobody. Nobody. And I mean that. about in the first decade, a friend of mine I went to school with named Dominic Marchianda started a company and started buying old buildings that were just sitting there, doing nothing. And turned them into housing for the university.
Mhm.
So he renovated them, and now boom, 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 a little bit. But now if you got people living down there, students, you got to have entertainment. So now the city did start an economic plan and a financing mechanism called the Float Loan Initiative, Youngstown Float Loan Initiative, where they give you money. At that, it was up to 18 months, no VIG for 18 months, and interest free, and to keep out, and then you pay it back. It was a great
Wow.
mechanism for the city. Restaurants were going up, bars, and little by little. Now they say it's still available. I'm not so sure if they discontinued it or not, because a few people try to take advantage and beat it. Try to and the city government got beat a few times. But then they said, we're discontinuing it down here, maybe continue. But my point being is, it recreated downtown Youngstown. So now, as I said, 2,000, nobody. Now on a weekend, you see 35, 4,000, maybe 5,000 people. Now we got a mini arena, the Cavelli Center, 6,000 seating unit for concerts. And they got a minor league hockey team. And then we have the new amphitheater outdoor where they're bringing I was there seeing Sticks, a couple weeks ago. It was Sticks and Donnie Harris. Now, if you don't know, only if you're a guy that grew up in the 70s, right, and 80s, you understand that, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of the town, and that's what I'm talking about. The town is on the climbing, and I want to be part of that.
Well, good on you for that. That's amazing. So your style was always defined as a style that was made for television because it was just relentless. You were in trading and taking hits and making throwing punches as well. When did you kind of get that feeling? Go, you know what, this TV thing, this entertainment thing, I can do this, or it's like your comment before, it's not rocket science. When did you kind of see where that door was open for the next phase of your career?
Well, when I was finding, as you said, I had a fan-friendly style that TV caught on to. Look, I make no bones about it. I came at the right time. Look, if this was my father's era, my father would have been $1 million fighter. He was made for his style because he kept coming. So now, I wanted to be my father, and so I wanted to be that type of fighter, and but you realize that, as I said, it's fan-friendly, right? And so 1981, the networks want to start getting, it used to be ABC, Wild World of Sports, right? They'd show a fight a quarter, maybe 2 fights. So the same fighters, Ali, Carlos Monzon, Roberto Duran, Now CBS wants to get involved. And they want to showcase the lightweights. Oh man, I hate the juggernaut, right? Now they want to have a tournament, so they do it. And that's how we got top 8 guys. And so I beat the number 6 contender, and then I matched off against the number 3 contender, Jose Luis Ramirez. I was such a big underdog that never even put a bet out on in Vegas. Wouldn't put it on the line. He had just fought Aguayo in a non-title fight down in Miami, dropped Aguayo twice, and got away with lost a split decision, which obviously he won. So they thought this would be the rematch, right? He'd go through me, but that didn't happen. So I beat him. So I beat the number 6 contender. I beat the number 3 contender. Now the opportunity to fight Alex Aguayo. I only had 20 fights. People said, oh, it was too soon. I always tell people, I beat the number 6 guy, number 3 guy. Where are you supposed to go from there?
Mm-hmm.
Where are you supposed? Where you say, oh, no, I don't want the title shot. No. I'll take a lesser guy. Like they're going to come. See, back then, you don't take it, you don't get it. It don't come around again.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to say, ask my father how many shots you get. Ask my father how many take, right? So,
Ray, that fight with Arguello was at the peak when this was all going on, and you had him in those early rounds.
I would have had up to 12 rounds.
You had him. I know.
Yeah.
It was a great fight, but when we go back to what we were talking about with the television, what we're talking here with Mark, it was at the peak with the lightweights. Everybody wanted to watch that. It was huge.
Right. The networks were the first time in the history, I believe, and I think I'm right on. It's the first time in history that the lighter divisions were more popular than than the heavyweight champion was. I think it's the first time Larry Holmes was the heavyweight champ during that time. Larry's one of the top 5 greatest heavyweights of all time. No dispute in my point. But he didn't have the personality to capture TV on a regular basis, because we had Ray Leonard, we had Roberto Duran, we had Marvin Hagler, we had Lex Arguello, Hector Camacho, you had all these other guys with these personalities, right? So plus the lighter weights seem to show more action. So the first time in history that the lighter weights were the big rage, more popular than the heavyweights. And
to go back to the style of, that era of Basilio, Robinson, and Ulmer, you guys brought it back. You guys brought it back.
Well, it's funny you said it, because the 50s recognized the golden era of boxing until the 80s. I think most people recognize now the 80s as the golden age of boxing. Probably the best era over the last 60, 70 years. And so I'm just very proud to be part of that group, very part of that. And that's what 15-round fights, as this title fights were 15, as this should be. And, that the weigh-ins were the morning of, as they should be, because Bob was boxing. Now they get the weigh-ins the night before. I always tell people, I made a joke, but I'm half joking. I told Bob Aaron one time, I said, Bob, if you're going to weigh in the guy, because they were going to have a weigh-in for a fight. I was at 12 o'clock the day before. I said, Bob, why don't you weigh in the week before? Because it's all bull crap anyhow. It don't mean nothing. If I'm weighing in at 12 o'clock and I'm fighting on going in the ring at 10 o'clock the following night, what does it mean? It don't mean nothing. Weighing the week before, it don't mean nothing. So it's just boxing has changed dramatically. But again, those were TV decisions, not boxing decisions. And the network guys, which I know, tell you, absolutely. TV controls boxing. TV would say, look, if you had a fight set, an opponent pulled out or whatever, they'd say, okay, we're going to give you a name of 5 guys or 3 guys. Pick one of them. If you don't take one of them, we're not going to show the fight. Okay. And they were all top contenders. I mean, you had no choice.
Well, that TV drives so much now, even in other elements of sports. You look at the potential. Now the big thing is the integrity of college football, with the teams moving around and the super conferences, and now the NCAA.
Who's controlling that? Who's controlling that?
Yeah.
ESPN.
Of course. The networks guess what? You don't want to do that? We're not paying. No, okay. Let them go watch it on some streamer. I mean, of course, they control everything as far as television, sports. They control. The networks are the fight. I would say the networks are the promoters. Don't let nobody kid you. They are the promoters. They dictate the Bob Aaron. They dictate the Al Heyman. They dictate at the time the Don King. They dictate who you fight with. Because if not, then they don't give you the date. They pull the date.
Well,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Well, look at football playing on Thursday, right? You say,
right.
What do you mean? We can't recoup. We can't recover from a Sunday game and practice and then be ready to go on Thursday. You say, yeah, you are. You want to be on TV. You want to sell jerseys and T-shirts and whatever for the Browns or the Steelers or whatever. You'll play on Thursday, and if you get you got 6 guys who can't play and dress, that's just the way it is.
Mark, don't get Ray going. He'll have the network change it by the weekend.
Oh man,
all right. We're breaking ground. We're breaking ground.
Yeah, it makes me nuts, man. What you just said. Look. Hey, look. Am I against it? College football. I'm a college football fan. But let's put them together. Let's see, because you're building superpower teams anyhow. Superpower. Everybody. What is it? SEC with Alabama, Clemson, and they always got the 1, 2, 3. Ohio State's been over the last 4 or 5 years the only one that's in there, right? But always got Clemson, Alabama, all those teams, and from that division, you got to, let's do it.
It really screws up the competitive balance, but
of course it does.
People want to pay, and I'm sure that just for you, the state of boxing now. I don't even know you want to have a comment on that, but it just where did MMA and guys wrestling in their underwear kind of take precedent over boxing? Well,
first of all, MMA on a regular basis is kicking our ass on a regular basis on regular shows, but on the pay-per-view and big fights, it's always going to be boxing. 7 out of top 10 pay-per-view events, I believe, are boxing events. I think it's always going to be that way. I think, you get a couple guys in MMA that's going to attract people like Conor McGregor because he's an interesting guy. He's more interesting outside the ring than he is inside the ring. So you're going to get guys like that. But on regular, but still, right? MMA is taking a big chunk of the audience. But boxing is considered a sport of the poor traditionally. From the 20s, it was the Jewish fighters, 30s the Irish, 40s the Italians, now the Black and Hispanic. So it's traditionally a sport of the poor. MMA isn't. MMA is started down in Redondo Beach area, Hermosa Beach, down in beach towns, Southern California. The Gracie family brought it over here, and they started it and created this buzz. And they'd have guys walk in off the street, they call it, and you can have you come into any gym that the Gracies have and have a challenge match. You come off the match, I want to challenge Mark. Oh, well, why don't you challenge, the other guy? You want to challenge this guy over here? Well, no, he's too small. No. Well, if you can get through him, then we'll give you Mark. And then these little guys will choke a big guy out.
Yeah.
Do it again, it's three, and the boom. So all of a sudden, how does that work? And that's how they got them all hooked. And people started doing, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Point being is, now it's become, then, when they started it, I think John Milius, the director and writer, got behind it in the early 80s, or in the mid 80s, I should say. And that's when it started showing. But they refined it to now where, there used to be, remember, no time limits? Originally, was no time limits. And they had multiple fights. You had guys from each genre, right? From different, and then boom. Now they fight 1, 3 to 4 times a night, and whoever come out, king of the jungle, right? Now it's set fights, 5-minute rounds, that whole bit, which is better for the sport. Don't get me wrong, but it's a real sport. Terrific fighters, terrific athletes, but it's not a sport of the poor. So I don't think it's really caught on mainstream. Like boxing is considered the noble art. MMA is not, I don't look at it as street fighting, but a lot of people look at it as just basically glorified street fighting. But it's much more than that. Trust me. But that's it. It's hey, it's interesting, really interesting. But
Ray,
people have
Ray and Mark, I gotta ask Mark. I gotta ask Ray this question. He's because I've listened to so many interviews with you, Ray. What does the night of May 8th, 1982 mean to you against Frias?
I said, if you've heard me say it many times, the one word, euphoric. It was a euphoric feeling.
What a night. The
greatest night of my, I tell people, other than seeing each one of my children born, the greatest day of my life. The greatest day of my life. I can't, and the sad part, not the sad part, I guess can't say sad. The thing is that will never be replicated. I'll never be able to accomplish anything I do in business will never give me the same feeling as that. Never. So, and that it's just, I was very happy I was able to achieve it, feel that, have that. Some people say, "Oh, you'll never get that feeling again." I said, "Well, I had it once. What's the matter with that?" You know what I mean? You don't need to have it more than once sometimes. Just sometimes once is enough.
A lot of people have never had that.
That's
So
right.
when you were done fighting, just to that point, a lot of athletes talk about where's that, I got the competitive element. There's always a scorecard.
Right.
There's always a scoreboard. How did you kind of channel that where you weren't looking for another title fight or whatever, but you had to fuel that fire?
Well, it's funny because I know you said earlier, and I apologize, I didn't go to it, but how the transition. Well, I was being represented by the William Morris Agency from 1983 on for commercial activities and speaking engagements and things like that. But I was also getting offered acting opportunities, which they were never able to take advantage of because I was in training camp all the time. So they said, so finally I got offered, they were going to do, CBS did a TV movie of my life, which is kind of, surreal, but, it was kind of cool. And anyhow, they had me read for myself. My agent pushed for me to read myself. So I read for myself, right? And I said, wow. They said, wait a minute, do it again, do it again. I did it again. They said, hey, one more time, one time. I did it again. They go, wait a minute, he can act. You can really act. I ain't acting. I live this, you know. But the thing that really hit me, what was the immediate thing that I came across my mind? Camera don't punch back. Worst thing happens is cut, take two. Man, why didn't I do this earlier? So, you know, yeah.
Yeah, it's a longer career, right?
So,
Everybody.
that's how it got. And I was, by that time, I was starting to lose love for the sport. Look, after the Kim fight, I had no love for it anymore.
Mhm.
It was business. It became business for me, strictly business. And so when my business manager told me I had enough, my financial security where I could walk away, live a great life, that's what I did. So that's when I transitioned. That's why I was only 24 when I retired. And I was fortunate. I got in, I turned pro at 18, won the title at 21, but I retired at 24. But there's the other thing I'm very proud of, is that I only fought 5.5 years. But in 5.5 years, I had 34 fights. Not a lot of years, not a lot of fights, not a lot of years. But the one thing I'm proud of, as a champion for 2 years, from May of 82 to June of 84, I had 7 title defenses. 5 title defenses, 2 non-title fights. But the reason I say 7 title defenses is because those non-title fights, your title wasn't at stake, but your credibility, marketability, and respectability is. So it's 7 title defenses. That's one every 3 months. And people realize you're in training camp 6 weeks before every fight. There was a period of time I was in training camp 44 out of 48 weeks. I was fighting so regularly. So I wanted to stay active, but I just lost the love for it. And, and at some point just say enough is enough. And thank God I had something else. I had talked to my agent at William Morris, after that I was being represented by William Morris Agency. And after the second Bramble fight, I said, hey, I want to give it a shot. I want to try to give the entertainment business a shot. And he said, okay, great, but you got to be here. You got to be where the action is. We got to move to California. I said, that seemed like a good idea at the time. Went out there. And as I said, I was there for 30 years. But that's how I did it. For me, I've never had a set plan. That's what I'm basically. After boxing, there was never no set plan. Things I'm always following life. I just follow the road. It's going to take you where it takes you. I'm enjoying, like I tell people, hey, I'm enjoying the ride. I'm just taking a ride. And, and enjoy it.
And Ray, I got to tell you, I mean, so many boxers go back again. They get that feeling they can do it again. I admire you for knowing that you knew, okay, that's it.
I did know it was time to quit at that time, but I did come back in '89 against the fight Camacho, which is 4 years later. But the reason why, because I retired at 24, I was still only 28, able to do it, and Camacho was personal. Plus, he wasn't. Yeah. Plus, I wasn't coming back and fighting Chavez. I wasn't coming. There was no punching. You know what I mean? So, but that was personal between us. That's why, like, if it was a different type of fighter, I wouldn't have maybe done it. But that was personal. I had to get that done. Now, that fight happens. I won that fight. Most people thought I won the fight. I go back to my business, go back to my life out there in California. I got married at my first marriage right after Camacho. First child 9 months later. I'm living a great life. And now in 1991, I'm doing an off-Broadway play in New York. Now I'm doing off-Broadway, right? I've been trained in the theater. I'm the thespian now, right? I'm the thespian. I've been trained in the theater. So now I get off. I'm doing a play. New York promoter, Lou Felsigno, comes to me and says, hey, would you be interested in fighting Greg Hagen? Now, I'm 28. I'm still only 30 years old. I just turned 30. I said, Greg Hagen, tough guy, not a big puncher. Yeah, I said, I'd be interested. And the reason why I said that is because, I'm sorry, because my wife's calling me and I just want to tell her I'm on the phone here. Doing this call. That I said, yeah, I consider that because I wasn't given the physical challenge that I want, that boxing gives. It was a mental challenge to be an actor. And I wanted to see, Camacho was personal, like I said. This time, my ego got involved. And I want to see if I could still compete like a world-class athlete. I want to see if I still can train like a world-class athlete, which I could. I just couldn't fight like one anymore. And that's no excuse, just what is. You got to accept what is. Plus, when I fought Camacho, and then I was never married or with children. Well, now I got my second child.
Right.
I got 2 children. My wife. I used to go into that. I used to go in the ring with the attitude: either you're getting carried out or I'm getting carried out. One of us is getting carried out of here tonight. Now this time I was like, God, please don't let me get hurt. My wife, my babies, they need me.
Right.
And that's no excuse. It's just what is. So I got beat the way I should have. I got an ass kicking because my ego got me involved. Ego wanted to fight Greg Hogan, blah, blah, blah. If common sense, I had fought for another 3 years. Greg Hogan had been fighting regularly. He'd been a champion already. But that's ego. And I always tell people, ego gets you your ass whipped, figuratively and literally, as far as life and love.
Hey, no doubt about it. It's your profession was not golf. You couldn't just walk out there and you weren't going to get hurt and just go, hey, I can't shoot in the 70s anymore and don't have to worry about getting physically harmed.
Well, you just said it. It's funny because that many times I get, they started, and I'm sure this seniors tour of boxing, right? Now this was in the 90s, they had talked about it. And they'd come to me. And I was I was in my 30s, late 30s. I said, are you crazy? What are you nuts? I said, no, who wants to see that? I don't want to see that. I said, you could do it in golf. You could do it in tennis. You can't do it in boxing. You can't do it.
Yeah.
It's a young man's sport.
Yes.
Okay. Now, 30 years, for like Manny Pacquiao, Manny's a freak of nature. He's 42 fighting. But nobody in the right mind should be fighting at 42. Nobody. Bernard Hopkins was 50 years old. Well, what happened? He got knocked out when he was 50 because he couldn't do it no more. What I'm saying is, my father told me a long time ago, it's a young man's sport. Young man's sport.
But that's the beauty of your story, Ray. And you talk about being along for the ride, but it's very clear that you appreciate. And there's a lot of those pieces of your life that you don't take credit for because you were in the right place at the right time, but you were ready for those opportunities and you had a community like Youngstown behind you.
Yes.
And you appreciated that and you respected that and never disrespected that. And that's why people still love you today, man. It's a great story.
Yeah.
No, people of my hometown, they treat me very well here and I'm so happy to be back. It's funny. It's funny you said that. Not to get on a dark side, I say, but me and my wife were talking not long ago, and we're saying, I don't have a burial plot when time comes in. I don't have a burial plot. She don't have a burial. What are we gonna do? I said, look, I thought, I never thought of it, but maybe get cremated. Who thinks of this stuff like this, right?
That's right. When you're too busy living,
Right.
thinking about that
Exactly.
stuff.
But so I don't even know if you can buy any burial plots anymore. But the point is, I said, you know what I'd like? I think here's what I think. Because the Catholic Church was against for a long time, but till there was no land anymore for graves. So they did the flippy floppy. Now it's okay. I know.
If you can write a check, you can change a lot of rules in the Catholic Church, right?
Mark,
I love my Catholic. I get it. But it's just I think I would like to get cremated, give each one of my children, some ashes, take the rest of them, go downtown Youngstown, and pour them off the Market Street Bridge, overlooks downtown, pour it over the Market Street Bridge. I don't know what else to take because I'm Youngstown until I die. I mean, from the womb to the tomb, right?
From the heart, Ray. You're from the heart.
From
Mark.
the womb to the tomb. So why not spread my ashes across downtown?
Mark.
I don't know what else to tell you, I mean, because that's why I'm so happy to be back home. And I got a lot of things to do before that.
For sure. Ray and Mark, I think we're going to kind of wrap this one up. But I got to tell you. I didn't
even get to ask him about the cigar company, but we'll do that next time.
Yeah, let's come back. Well, first, because I have a wine company, my bourbon company, just real fast. My bourbon, first one came out in 2017. We won a bronze medal at the World Spirit Olympics in San Francisco, right? Every February. We just came out with a special reserve this February, won a double gold. It said amongst the finest products in the world.
Wow.
Hey, what does it mean?
If it wasn't that you were married between the cigars and the bourbon, you'd have me, man. There's no doubt.
For sure. We're in.
But right now, I said, here's the problem. Here's the rub. The bourbon, I said, we're all throughout Northeastern and Southern Ohio. Great. But if we can, now we have signed a deal with Southern Wine and Spirit in Nevada last year, right before COVID. But then when COVID happened, everything, stopped. So we're re-upping, revving that back up. But what I tell people, we got a double goal. What does that mean if we can't get outside of Northeast Ohio? What does it mean?
Well, we got to get it. We got to get it.
But you can get it on BevMax. BevMax and BevMo. What BevMax and BevMo. BevMax, I think, Boom Boom Bourbon.
All right.
Boom Boom Bourbon.
Deal. We got to get some pictures. We'll put it up on our Facebook page. We'll have it up on YouTube. We'll have it all over the place.
Ray, I just want to say, I don't know how to thank you. When we hooked up and we talked, we wound up talking to Chris Myers a couple weeks ago, and he says hi to you.
Oh,
he's always on the.
He's the best.
He's the best, Myers.
I miss
talked about you, and I got to tell you, this book is fantastic.
Thank you.
Your son by Mr. Kriegel. Yeah. I got to tell you, this. I mean, we could have stayed here 5 hours with you tonight.
Well,
you got to come back.
Let's run it back. Let's run it back.
You got to come back. Mark, but I got to tell you something. This was an honor. I want you back here. Mark, I was so excited about this. I was so excited about this. You, my friend, when I used to watch you come into that ring, you had the swag. You had the passion. I love when you fought all these guys. I saw it. But I got to tell you one thing. I want you back here. But if I find out, Ray, hey, I got a surprise for you. If I find out you're coming to Chicago, Carmen Basilio left me this glove because he bought airline tickets for me. We're going a couple rounds, my friend.
Hey, Mark, I only spar with lightweights. Anyhow.
You got it, Ray.
All right. God bless, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Ray, we love you, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. Be good.
Got to do it again.
You got it.
Champ.
Thank you.
Thank you.